a lack of clarity. How do you figure out exactly what it is you want to do, how best to go about doing it, and how to see if what you're doing is working for you? So this morning, I have my team here. Sister Yodit is here, Dr. Gladys, and Miss Kim. Ladies, please introduce yourself, beginning with Sister Yodit, Dr. Gladys, and then Miss and Dr. Kim will introduce herself. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Ms. Paula, and hello, everyone. Hello to my dearest Happiness Tribe team members and to our audience, those of you who are joining us today. I'm live in Gaborone, Botswana, which is in Southern Africa, and we're still in the midst of winter, but it's beginning to warm up. Um, very excited about this conversation and looking forward to hearing the perspectives from my different team members here, the Happiness Tribe. And just to add that the Happiness Tribe wishes to inspire, influence, and help you promote a healthier and happier lifestyle. And all these conversations are meant to do just that. And we're hoping that whatever comment you have for us or questions, you'll be able to post them either on the LinkedIn chat or one of the other mediums that we are currently flighting from. Thank you, Ms. Paula.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Gladys. I'm in this tribe. Looking forward to this wonderful conversation. I do want to say I'm actually in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States of America. So I'm really looking forward to this wonderful conversation and sharing information about procrastination. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Lovely to meet you again. My name is Miss Kim. I'm responsible for all the drama you're seeing on the screen. I've always thought I could do design, but every time I try, it just flops on my face. And it just reminds me I need to go back to class. So, yes, sort of Halloween. Those who are not watching us from the screen, please come and see. There's a little party here. I'm struggling to get it back to the old plain stuff that we used to. So I'm looking forward to today's conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Kim. Well, you know what? It's wintertime down under, so maybe this is representing the winter you guys are having there. I'm in Belize. It is 88 degrees already. It's pretty hot, but it's a beautiful day nonetheless. The sky is out, it's blue, and we just give thanks and praises for the blessings and everything that we had. I'd just like to remind our audience that today's podcast is sponsored by and presented by OneStream. This is the format and the streaming format that we're using. We love this format. We have yet to explore our benefits of it, but so far we're pretty pleased with it. So please, if you're looking for a streaming platform, OneStream is your platform to really explore and to utilize. If you use OneStream, you will simplify your life and streamline your world. So let's get started. Let's get into it. I want to thank everyone that's here with us today, and even if you're looking at this in the future, thank you for stopping by, for plugging in, tuning in, and getting involved in the discussion. Again, my name is Paula, and I'd like to recap. I'd like to start, ladies, by recapping your takeaways from the two previous podcasts that we had, actually three of them, but these are the two pieces that I think are the most important. So if we can do a brief, maybe 1 minute, each of us talk about self-belief and the fear of failure. I'll begin. So we discussed failure, what it's like, how it shows up, self-talk that happens. We talked about some of the ways that we can mitigate the fear of failure by, writing, by understanding that failure is a part of life and that you're going to feel afraid at one or many times in your life. And the takeaway is really to just work through the failure and to pursue whatever it is you're attempting to pursue despite your fear and your trepidation. So that was important. And I believe for me, the self-belief was really critical. in being able to trust ourselves, to being able to trust our capacity to be successful at whatever it is we try, with hard work, with dedication, and with knowledge. Don't be afraid to go and get some new knowledge if you need it. Don't be afraid to ask questions and to ask for help. So those were my takeaways from the last two podcasts that was major. Shiyodit, can you just give us a brief description of your takeaway from those two specific podcasts?
Sure, Ms. Paula. I think I'll focus more on the fear of failure. And my takeaway, and what I believe as well, is that you must not allow the fear of failure to paralyze you. I think it's okay to feel some fear. It might even serve as inspiration to do better, to work harder. You must not allow it to paralyze you. And so I have a friend who says, feel the fear and do it anyway. So that would be something that I remember, and we discussed that. The second point would be building a community of people around you who can help you work through the fear. And you mentioned working through the fear. So, what is it that's making you fearful? What are those things that you need to address directly and boldly and perhaps bravely? So, those are the two takeaways for me, Ms. Paula. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Yodit. Dr. Gladys?
Well, what I would like to say is that I think the best way to fail is not to start, because that is actually failure itself. I definitely concur with everything you were saying, surrounding yourself with positive people, because I know we're living at a time where a lot of people are really feeling like they have failed. And that's because of this new technology. I can't emphasize that enough. I mean, and that's across all generations. It's not just a particular, group of people. It's a lot of people who are feeling that way. And so
Thank you so much, Dr. Gladys. Ms. Kim, can you tell us your takeaways?
Yes, thank you, Miss Paula. I think my takeaway from the sessions we've had in the past was they sort of struck a chord with me. I was able, they sort of, we come to this podcast sometimes with the intention to teach, to help, to make a difference. And quite often we don't come with the intention of, I'm healing myself. But every time after the podcast, I just go like, I didn't know that about me. Because it looks like sometimes it's until we talk about things that you go like, oh, really? I'm actually so scared of this and that. So it has made me very intentional on confronting my fears. That every time I'm so scared of doing something, I just remind myself, come on, girl, you're going to wear the big mama's panties and do it. You've got to face your fears. And the lessons are just making me sort of mellow and get to realize, yes, we're all walking wounded. It's how I face life and become very intentional and also allow fear to sit with me here and have a conversation. We're scared of this. How do you deal with it? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kim. And that's a great segue. This week's discussion, this week's podcast, the fog fusion, the lack of clarity. I can speak. I'd like to give a little story. When I was returning to Belize, it wasn't. I was convinced and I was committed to returning to where I was born, but I had not. I didn't grow up here, so I had some reasons. I could call that out. Okay, what I would do, you know, I had family here, but I didn't really know my family that way on a day-to-day intimate basis. So I was really nervous about how all of that would unfold. But the way that I dealt with it was, hey, listen, this is like war. Living in the United States was like being at war. Every day you didn't know what happened. So I had to take the same approach, which was just to put one foot in front of the other, to trust myself, and to know that spirit would help all of this unfold for me, and that the confusion and the lack of clarity that I had to what direction I was going to take once I got here, I just decided I was just going to walk the walk. This is what we call in spiritual terms, just learning how to walk, put one foot in front of the other. So that has helped me a lot. I still have moments where I'm not sure what's going on, things are falling apart. And when I feel that way, I just sit still. I just do absolutely nothing. I just pin in and questioning myself and spirit. So this is where now, if you are someone that's listening to this that feels, listen, I know, I just lost my job, the marriage isn't working, but I have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't know. I don't have any answers. This is a conversation that I think you should really into, because what we're going to attempt to excavate today is what are some of methods, our tools that we utilize. I'm speaking about our team and our family. What are the tools that we utilize to address this sense of fog that we have of a lack of direction? So this is the conversation today. Sister Yodit, I'm going to start with you. Tell us, you're just starting your business, right? After being in the corporate environment, do you have a sense of fog or a lack of clarity as to how, what, where you're going to do your approaches? Tell us, share some of that with us, please.
Thank you, Ms. Paula. Definitely. I think that's the quick and short answer. When you come or find yourself in a situation rather abruptly, confusion is always something that happens first, right? Um, and uncertainty clearly will follow. But what I would advise is, having now gone through that, is you need to be able to take a step back, because there's a lot that's going on. There's a lot that's going on with the uncertainty and confusion. There's anger, and there's obviously a little bit of fear as well. And one of the things that I did immediately was to immerse myself in learning. Every day, I decided that I was going to continue to learn specific subjects related to my own profession, my background, but also things that interested me. So, delving deeper into mindfulness practice, trying to understand how people think and behave and what drives behavior. That's something that was an immediate relief, because I could lose myself in that, in the learning. Um, and I decided as well, and something that's very important is to continue to have a structured day as much as possible. In other words, don't give in to the temptation of doing absolutely nothing because you can, because you have nothing better to do. I think it's important to remain structured and to make sure that you have something that you wish to deliver by the end of the day. And it doesn't have to be something professional. It could be as simple as, I'm going to make a lovely dinner. Don't laugh, Miss Kim, for my family today. It could be something as simple as that. But I think it's important for you to ensure that you do have some kind of a to-do list. Now, um, a vacation always helps. It's always nice to be able to take time off everything. So you don't have to think about anything at all. And you're on vacation. Therefore, you don't have to have the to-do list. You don't have to have a structured program. It's all about having fun. And I think that's important if you've just gone through something that's traumatic, something that was unexpected. Um, give yourself time off, because your mind is reeling. At least mine was. My mind was reeling at the time, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen next. So, vacation is important. Surrounding yourself with people who love you, who will not ask you questions, who will just allow you to be, whether you want to be still, whether you want to go out dancing, whatever it is. For those of us who are able to do that, I think it's important. But once that's over, Miss Paula, and I think that's what you're asking me, once that is over, and you're now face to face with yourself, and you're no longer going to that place, that space that you're used to, being with the people that you're used to. That's when it becomes really important to have a structured day as much as possible. Otherwise, you're giving yourself room to move into depression, to move into anxiety, and things that are extremely uncomfortable and unnecessary. And I'm not saying that that doesn't happen, it does. So, building something new, a new business, is extremely difficult. You know, if you've been trained to do things a certain way, it's very difficult to shift now to becoming something else. And Miss Kim is my witness to this because she's watched me go through this transition. And, you know, one of the things that we're constantly fighting about, for example, is I come from an environment where you have to address risk issues. You know, you have to ask all those compliance governance issues. You don't just go for it. And I think that's one of the biggest transitions for me is to say, but I'm not representing a big brand anymore. I'm representing myself. For as long as I'm comfortable with it and it sits well within my values, then there's no reason for me not to go with it. But changing from such a risk averse and, you know, compliant environment, and not to say that becoming an entrepreneur means you're less compliant, no, but you're adhering to brand issues related to certain brands, and so you don't want to come out, you cannot afford to do anything that the
Mhm.
brand doesn't allow you to do. So there's some, you know, transitions that have been very difficult, and it's still a learning journey for me. I'm still on a steep curve, but the one thing that I have learned to do, and it's taken time, is to allow myself grace, to say it's okay, I'm new at this, but I'll get there. So taking it one step at a time, and to use what you said, Miss Paula, one foot in front of the other every single day. So I think, yeah, let me leave it at that for now. Thank you, Miss Paula.
So much, Sister. I appreciate your input. Dr. Gladys, you had a STEAM program that you had put together for the disenfranchised, for community members who wouldn't get that opportunity. I think it was for children. And I know you had some challenge. At one point, there was somewhat of a disconnect between what you would imagine you expected and how things were unfolding. You were in the thick of things with something that you felt so strongly about, and it appeared that it wasn't going the way you planned it, or there were some challenges that maybe perhaps you did not understand, or whatever the challenges were. How did you make a decision about where to go next if you didn't have clarity about exactly what the challenge? Can you share that with us?
That's really a good question. And yeah, and let me just say that the program actually addressed ages as young as 5, and I even had young adults, like 22-year-olds, because a lot of them had never had those type of opportunities, and this is what they had shared with me. And so my goal was to really introduce, like you said, the disenfranchised to STEM, because everything is science and technology. You're saying, and I don't want to leave off the engineering and math, but I just want to put that the focus now is really on science and technology. And so it was really hard to get buy-in. So I, not only did I try to appeal to the community, but I was also trying to form partnerships. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it just wasn't gelling. I don't know what it was. I was working overtime, really trying to expose people, but you're dealing with a mindset to do. So it was very hard to get that type of buy-in. So I even actually partnered with organizations with the actual county, and that allowed me to even give students. So that was another way. It's okay. I said, let me try this path. So I had students come in, and they were actually doing internships. I was benefiting in the sense that I was getting the exposure, but the real benefiters of this particular internship were. Um, so I had to keep
Mhm.
looking at different pathways to see what would work, because there were situations where I tried to form collaborations, and those individuals really didn't want a collab. I don't know what that was all about. I didn't have time to try to figure that out. I even
Mhm.
tried to go work speak with someone in government to see if I could get grants. A nonprofit organization, so it was too young. So I tried numerous pathways. And then I was also told that I probably was in the wrong area, but that was where the most need was, because I wanted,
Right.
underrepresented students. So, you know, what I had to do was actually keep shifting and trying. It's almost like throwing, spaghetti on the wall to see what's going to stick, as long as the things that were happening. I was even doing research for someone within my facility. So you can see I went down different pathways, but again, it was very difficult to get the buy-in. And then also not having the funding, like from the government. I was
Mhm.
actually supporting this financially myself. That was another thing, you see. So I was doing everything I possibly could to and which one could lead to the best result, and it was just very difficult. So what I decided to do, once COVID kicked in, that really, that revamped a lot of different businesses. It wasn't just me, but that forced me to have to look at another pathway. But I have to
Right.
say, and I just want to say that, so what I ended up doing, so now what I do is I try to support other businesses that are actually doing STEM. So, although it didn't take you through various valleys and mountains and, different, curves and all that stuff. So, so that's why I said, okay, since those didn't work out the way I wanted them to, because I do want to say that I do think I made an impact, even though I had to travel those different pathways. I had numerous, not as many students as I wanted, but I had many students that came through me, and I even would go out and partner with entities, and I would put on displays because I had a wildlife component. It impacted more. Sometimes when you're in it, you don't really see the impact that you're making because it's not looking like what you expected it to look like. However, when I look back
Expected.
on it
Right.
now, I really believe that it was successful, but just not in the way that I may have pictured it. You see,
Mhm.
so that was my way. So I've never moved away from what I'm doing. I'm just doing it in a different way.
Thank you much. That illuminates the entire
You see
process.
what I'm saying? So,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, yes, thank you. Mhm.
Thank you, Dr. Gladys. Miss Kim, you are a serial entrepreneur. You are on multiple boards. You have multiple businesses. Do you ever get moments where you're absolutely fogged out and have no idea what other move to make when you're challenged in the middle of a challenge, multiple challenges? Do you ever get that? And if you do, how do you cope with it?
Thank you, Miss Paula. I think it's my life. I think it just happens every other day. So what I've done is putting up systems in place. It's where you assess some of the projects and you just go like, okay, I'm just going to call this my passion project. It's my hobby. It will never give me a breakthrough, but I love it. And I have a team that loves it. So we keep going. Then there are others that I go like, I don't really enjoy doing this, but it pays the bills. So I got to keep going and I have to keep on doing it. And obviously working with other associations, sometimes it can get very draining working with, because you're not in control. And that's where I think some of us really struggle fitting in the employment space or
Mhm.
even with partnerships. So, and we try to make sure that there's clarity when you're starting. You've set clear policies, everyone has expectations, but then life happens and things are not done as expected. And so it's you have to be very, you have to be humble and understand that we're all doing life, and sometimes the challenges will come. So it's important where we just nurture how do we communicate effectively with people that we're working with, and how do we get clarity on I've had it, this project has failed, it's not going anywhere, and I need to take a break. So important that constantly we are checking on our financial, emotional, and mental well-being. Otherwise, there are things that you get to try and you realize this is not going to go anywhere. I'm passionate about it. I'm making a difference, but it's draining. It's taking my all. And you say no. I think I've learned, especially this year, I've become very good at saying no, thank you. I love what you're doing, but I'm not in a position to support it. And sometimes there have been projects where, oh, I love this. When you pay forward, so you are on a journey, and I have to be very clear on these are the projects I'm pushing right now. For the next 90 days, this is a baby that has to be nursed until the baby can walk. Because I try to get very involved in my projects until sometimes I give them 90 days, 180 days. And then from there, I start letting go, which I love working with people. So when I feel I'm good to go, the team can run with this, I start leaving it. So when I'm in the middle of that, I could get invited into other projects that are looking very attractive. So what I do into those projects is some of them which I know this is exciting, but I don't have the space. I forward it to some of our team members or young youth volunteers who honestly sometimes they get into it and do a much better job than I could because they have the time, especially university students. They have the bandwidth. They can be able to cope. So you support, but from a distance. It's one of those that I can commit 1 hour in a week for that project, just catching up with how are you guys doing. But I don't need to be the person with boots on the ground. Then of course collaboration, getting different partners for different projects. It makes work easier. Thank you.
So much, Miss Kim. Um, I'd like to share with you, but before I do that, I'd like to just remind our audience that this podcast is being sponsored by OneStream. So if you are looking to get in streaming your podcast, your business, lesson it is that you're seeking to do, please consider OneStream because it helps to simplify your life and streamline your world. Thank you very much. So, Miss Kim, one of my ways from all three statements that all three of you discussed really was about being able to think outside the box when you're not on what direction to take, or you're not clear what it is you need to in order to address a particular challenge. I was just diagnosed the other day with diabetes. For anyone who knows me and has been following us on this, I'm really health conscious. I'm one of these people who, I eat a certain way and I live a certain way. It's all intentional. Still, I've seemed to have developed diabetes and hypertension. And so, when the doctor told me the other day, you're a diabetic now. You have 2 diabetes. I sat there and I was dumbfounded. I thought, what am I going to do? I've been doing the best that I can. Here I am. I still have a disease that is rampant in my family, that is in our genetics. I don't know what to do. I had no idea what I was going to do. And, I just sort of just gave to God, like to be the spiritual person. So when things come to me and I can't handle, or I don't understand, or I feel like I need time to process, I just sit still and I pay attention. I tune in with my third eye, just with my spirit so that I can see what spirit is trying to show me. I'm sharing this story because I don't know who going through whatever it is they're going through, and maybe this may help. This clarity, the best way for me that it works for me is to sit still, pay attention, to tune into myself. And so 2 days ago, I was in the garden. I garden a lot. I grow everything. I was in the garden, I was just cleaning and pruning the garden. And a voice in my head was so strong. It said, you know, this is not what you think it is. Diabetes is not what you think it is. Say that it's genetic, and yes, you may have a genetic disposition, but this is really a parasite infection. And I thought, parasite infection? What are you talking about? I'm having a conversation with myself, and this real strong voice in my head say, yeah, it's not what you think it is, and this can be cured. And so I said out loud, I said, well, what is the cure? Tell me what the cure is so I can help myself and others. And the voice that came back just really upset me, pissed me off. The voice said, oh, the answer is all around you, and you'll figure it out shortly. And wrong answer. That's not what I want to hear. But I've got to tell you, that's exactly what happened. I'm not going to want to take up the time here, but there are things actually that's around me that I'm actually growing in the yard that can actually help with microscopic parasite infection. So I'm already started. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens. But for me, I think this was a perfect example of sometimes when you don't know what to do, you don't do, you do what you're able to do. Sometimes you can't do anything. You just sit, you pay attention, you tune in. So I'll stop there for now. I'd like us to move to speaking about community, a support group, support network. I think everyone should have at least one person that they trust, that they can trust their lives with, that they can go to. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is because a lot of times here with the team inside this family and this tribe, when we run into things that we don't know, challenges, we reach out to each other. We have a supportive network. So I think that this thing that our audience should consider, if you don't already have one person that you can trust, you know, a close friend, a guardian, a parent, or get that person, get a different perspective, get some wisdom around you. It really does help. For me, it is my lifesaver. Even my mom has dementia, and sometimes my mom would just drop a gem on me like out of nowhere, and I'm like, what? You know, so it does help. Is there anything else, ladies, that you would like to add to that before we into the challenge of clarity?
If I may, just ask, I don't know if it's a question or a statement, but one of the things that happens, especially Miss Paula, when you started talking about, a medical diagnosis that's unexpected, sometimes I think what happens is you become very confused, yes, but then you're on autopilot. You just do. You're running, you're doing, and it's exhausting, but at the same time, you're unable to keep still because you have to keep moving. So I keep thinking about you saying you keep still. That in itself takes a lot of strength because it's easier to just keep going. It's easier to keep running, oh, you have to get medication here, there. And God forbid, if you're in a country where you can't just walk to the pharmacy and get medication, it's freely and widely available. You keep yourself busy with those things in the process, forgetting about the real thing that you should be really worried about. Um, and keeping still is the last thing you want to do. So how do you work with both? The temptation to just keep running because it's easier. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to deal with it. How do you get to that point where you're just still?
Are you asking me the question, or is it a rhetorical statement? I
Well,
can respond to that.
I'd love for you to respond to that because I think a lot of us are tempted to just go, 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 go because we don't know how to deal with the being still.
Yeah, thank you. That's an excellent question, Sister Yodit. For me personally, it is about faith. It is about knowing that everything that happens to me, it's for my highest and best good. Because when I look back at my life, all the challenges that I've had, and I've had a lot, not more than others, I've had a lot. Every challenge that I think of that I've had has created something in me in my life, given me a sense of direction. It was always from best and highest good. So at this stage, something hits me at the side of the head, and I don't understand. I don't have for it. I don't know what to do. I'm able to sit still because I know, in a shadow of a doubt, that there's something positive going to come out of this. That there's something I'm needing to learn. I'm needing to gain. I'm needing to do to be able to help others. That's just how I process stuff now. So it's really about faith. And it's so crazy that the spirit told me the answer is right around me. A couple of days later, I get a phone call from a friend, and she's looking up. She has dogs. She loves dogs. She's speaking to me about parasites. Like, that's, I don't see that as accidental. I see that as being still, tuning in, and paying attention. And so when the breadcrumbs begin to show up, I trust spirit so completely that I can follow breadcrumbs even as I'm sitting still. I'm speaking about mentally, that I can say, okay, what is this about? What do I need to learn? What is my takeaway? Why is this happening? This is what happens for me. So it's about faith. It's about knowing beyond the shadow of a doubt that nothing happens to us. It happens for us, no matter how terrible it is. You know what I mean? So for me, Sister Yoda, to answer your question, I hope I'm answering your question in a way that can help further the discussion. It's really about having faith. It's about knowing that you know that everything is for your best good. Your job is to pay attention, tune in, really tune in, and to trust the process. All I got. That's that's what that's what I'm still getting. But I tell you, I am everything that I'm learning. I'm writing a book for, right, and I kind of was reached a particular level. I thought, I don't know what else to do, and then I get this diagnosis, and it sounds crazy, but I think this diagnosis is a trigger for me to not just understand the disease from an intellectual capacity, but to go through it so that I can understand what it takes, and that perhaps I'll be in a position to be able to help people walk through it into wholeness, if that makes any sense. I know that sounds crazy, but if that makes any sense, go ahead, Miss Kim. It looks like you have something you'd like to add to that.
Well, no, actually, I just admire you because I know sometimes these things are easier said than done. I keep on, yeah, I keep on trying. I think it's what I call my emotional intelligence. When sometimes I just feel like I'm gonna be an all big grown girl, and next time things happen, I won't flip.
But Miss Kim, even if flip, you can meltdown. Even in the middle of the meltdown, you must remind yourself, okay, I'm tripping out, and that's fine. I'm not. You don't judge yourself. Don't be harsh on yourself. Out. Just don't do it in a way where you can't come back from it. But when you're flipping out, you say to yourself, okay, I'm melting down. That's fine. It's okay. Once that's over, you can settle down. You can literally talk to yourself like a sister and say, settle down. It's okay. Pay attention. There's a reason
Yeah,
for this. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
yeah. So
Can I
that's where I'm at.
can I quickly give a big shout out? We have quite a number of our friends on LinkedIn saying hello. So we have one of my very, very good old friend, Daniel Mariah. Um, I think you might remember him. He was part of the board. Your signals are too noisy. Thank you. Just do a
Sorry.
thumbs up. Hey, Daniel. So nice to hear from you. He's watching us from Nairobi. Then there's Justice Becky Zulu Sifelani. He's watching us from Joburg. There's Akil Kumar who says, good evening, guys. Then we have Babanza David. He says, I love hidden emotional cost of delaying our dreams. I think this is because of the fear of future loss. That's big, right? So the hidden emotional cost of delaying our dreams. I think this is because of the fear of future loss. Then we have greetings from Mushinzima. Oh, I'm trying to be such a big girl today, but no. My African accent. My tribe, we eat a lot of potatoes, so we have blamed our tongue the potato and the cabbage. So, Mushinzimana Noel, greetings from Kigali. Hey, Mushinzimana. Bambanza David says he's in Kigali. Big hello. We have Tanashe Simon joining us from Zimbabwe. And oh, somebody from Migori, Jeffrey Obunga. Migori is like, for Miss Yodit, you can understand, it's like the Hansi or Shakawe in Kenya. Free file. Thank you, Geoffrey. Thank you for joining us. And we have Kwapilo Manirkaza joining us from Rwanda. Thank you, our listeners. If you're joining us from, we are streaming on 17 platforms, wherever you're joining us from. Please share your thoughts, contribute to the conversation. And if you'd like to join the studio next time, just let us know. We can bring you on board. Thank you. Miss Paula, you're just making a lot of noise there.
I, I would like to say something to Miss Paula. One thing I like is a comment. I like the fact that first of all you centered yourself, and by that I mean you sat still because it allowed you to think and get clarity. Another thing, because a lot of times feel any different, they're in denial. And so usually when they do acknowledge the condition, I want to say just the condition, it's usually at a point where it's life altering. And it could be in the sense of, some type of amputation. It could be where their sugar's out of control and they're going into a diabetic coma. So I commend you for, first of all, sitting still, centering yourself, getting clarity, and then acknowledging and then saying, okay, am I going to approach this? Because the sooner, and I'm speaking from experience because my husband is a diabetic. So, I deal with that, he's in good health, don't get me wrong, but it's because we both acknowledged the situation and we knew what we had to do to make sure that he had, a life that he could live in a way that wasn't compromising. So I really commend you for that, for acknowledging and sitting still and thinking about it and saying, okay, how am I going to address it? And then paying attention to those cues, like you said, that are around you.
It is. Thank you so much, Dr. Gladys. And by the way, I'm documenting this process because I'd like to, I think I need to learn from this so I can share my experience with others so that they know what to recognize in terms of the symptoms and even lifestyle changes in diet and some of the things that we should be consuming to help to either prevent or to alleviate the symptoms and ultimately just to restore ourselves completely. So yeah, I'm being honest. At the first week, it was like I was just like, I don't know what to do with this. And I felt a tinge of anger. I was like, I'm one of these people who work really hard. Forgive me. I'm one of these people who work really hard to remain healthy because there's all the top 5 diseases are in my family from both sides. And in fact, my cousins are here from the United States, and one of my cousins didn't come. When I asked for him, everyone got quiet yesterday, and I looked at him, and I said, he's sick, he has cancer, doesn't he? And they were like, everyone just broke down. And I told him, I said, I knew he was sick. I could sense it when I met him last year when he came to visit. I knew he was deathly ill. And I tried to have a conversation with him, to your point, Dr. Gladys, and he would not even acknowledge it. And guess what? I have medicines growing in the yard for cancers. They haven't been researched. There's limited research on them, but we have proof. We know we have narratives, experiential narrative that some of these things help. Had we had gotten him, had he was open to have that conversation with me, I could have given him, dried some of that medicine and herbs for him to take with him, and he could have been drinking it as tea all along. So, sometimes we receive not because we ask not. We don't open our mouths. We prefer to suffer in silence, whether it's a physical, whether it's mental, whether it's emotional, whether it's financial. We suffer in silence. This is the reason why I'm suggesting that you get a tribe, get people that you feel like you can trust, that you can open up to enough to be able to get their perspective. Because oftentimes our perspective is not necessarily, it may not even be accurate. You know what I mean? But getting other honest perspectives that have your best interest at heart really helps a lot. And so, yeah, I'll leave it at that. This is the kind of thing that I can go on and on and on about. But having said that, so let's speak about the antidote. What do you do when you're not clear? And we've started covering some of that, but I'd like us to unearth that, to excavate that a little more. And two things that comes up for me is vision crafting, crafting a vision of what it is you want, what kind of life do you honestly want, which takes that stillness, that internal examination, and then to see and examine your values, right? So marry what it is you want for your life, in your life, along with the values that you say you have that regulate your life. So I'd like to start with you, Dr. Gladys. I know that you're a woman that has achieved quite a bit in your life. And I know it could not have been easy because none of it is easy if you're Black in this world, if you're of African descent. Nonetheless, give us maybe one or two tools, just one, in terms of how you handle a lack of clarity or a lack of direction or understanding in whatever it takes, whether it's personal or private life, your personal or professional life. What tool? Give us one or more tools that we can
Yeah.
utilize for this. Go
One
ahead.
thing I have, yeah, one thing the way I actually approach situations when I feel like I'm unclear, like, well, definitely one thing is that I like to sit still and I like to be alone because I don't want any distractions. That's one thing. And another thing, and when I say that, and that, it's not just people that can be a distraction. Like, I wouldn't want to drink because have a hangover, whatever, and a headache. That's how what happens to anything that's going to alter my brain activity. That's something that's important for me because I think that it's an individual thing. People have different ways. Even meditation works for me, but that's very important. It's really funny that I'm talking about it because I was just talking with someone earlier this morning, one of my friends, and she drinks wine. And I'm not saying anything against wine, but I think I've mentioned before, I don't drink. I don't drink, period, because I don't feel like I have clarity. It alters my mind. It doesn't work like that for everyone, but it works like that. Type of courses that I teach, they are very cerebral. And so I have to have clarity in order to convey that content. So there's those type of things I do. I need to be alone. I have to have a clear mind. And that means, no drinking anything for me, no smoking pot or anything like that for me. Whereas some people will say that makes them more creative. And for some people it does, but that type of stuff doesn't work for me. Meditating, being able to just sit back and let my mind go wherever it's going to go, okay, that's the response that I need to have, so that's what works for me. But however, that's very, subjective. That depends on the individual. It doesn't mean it's going to work, for everyone else. But that's what I do, and just like now, I take the summers off, right? So I really relax my mind, because when I go back, I want to be rejuvenated. I want to be enthusiastic. I want them to receive that information, and I want them to know that I'm here because I want you to learn. So that's very important to me. So I've had almost 4 months off. So I'm in the point now where I go back at the end of August. So it's countdown time for me. So I'm making sure I don't overload myself with anything because, like I said, I want to be refreshed when I return. But that's what works for me because I've heard other people people who I talk to, and they deal with those situations. And especially if they're artistic, they feel like, some type of substance helps them to be more artistic. So, like I said, that's why I said it's very subjective, it's individual, it's personalized. So I just wanted to. Now, did you have another question you wanted me to answer? I hope I answered that question. I think you're on mute. I can't hear you.
Oh Lord. Yeah, I don't have a follow-up question for you, Dr. Gladys. I think you did an excellent job answering that question. Thank you. I'd like to go to Sister
You.
Yodit because Sister Yodit is our resident wise person here. And so I know, Sister Yodit, that you have something you'd really like to add to this. What do you do when you feel stuck and you don't know what to do? And maybe you've been given options, even sometimes if it's good stuff. You know, sometimes you're trying to do something and you've been toiling with it, and all of a sudden you had three offers, four offers. You're like, what do I do? So, what would you do? What do you do? What are some of your recommendations for us if we're confused?
Thank you, Ms. Paula. And I look forward to that day where having many options confuses me. Um, the most important thing to do would be to understand and learn more. So I would do the research. I would go and try to learn as much as I possibly can about the situation or the different options that I have. It's always my first thing. If I'm presented with something that I'm not sure about, I always go and look for information so that I understand it better. So that's what I would do. It helps. And then it helps to make a list of what is good about this and what is not so good about this. And once you've done that list, you're able to see very clearly. And I mean, physically writing out a list or using your laptop or whatever so that you can see it visually. I need to see these are the pros and cons of this. And then that helps me to make a decision. And then, of course, it always helps to bounce things off somebody else. You spoke about having a partner, somebody that you go to. And I'm fortunate to have a few people that I can go to just to bounce off ideas on what do you think? What is the best way forward? And then, taking all of that together helps you to make a decision on which direction to take, or it helps to clarify things. Sitting still is something that I really appreciate more and more. I think because it forces you to exhaust everything. I remember a long time ago, I was still a college student. A good friend said to me, the biggest problem that you have is you don't think things through. In other words, I was very quick to make decisions. And so now, and maybe it's also because I have a bit of time, I'm able to really think about things and unpack it, deal with whatever feelings come about as a result of that unpacking that I've done. Approach it in a very mature manner so that when I'm done with it, I can move forward with very, very clear perspective on what comes next or what should come next. I hope that helps.
It really does. It does indeed. And I appreciate that, ladies. Thank you all so much. I gotta say it, I am so gifted and so blessed to be surrounded by such wisdom and insight and different perspective. And this is the reason why it's so important to be a part of a tribe like the Happiness Tribe. So if you've been listening to us, if you've been checking in, you coming into the podcast and interacting with us, don't be afraid to join. Reach out to us. Become a member, share this podcast with someone that you care about. Perhaps it can help them in some ways. The thing that I'd like to do right now, though, is I'd like to discuss crafting a vision. Right. I know a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if it was last week or the week before that, Miss Kim spoke about a vision board. And I thought that was a really great idea. For some of us, the vision board, we don't know, we're not artistic. I mean, I think you have to be artistic to do a vision board. I just think that. And maybe I'm wrong. So, Miss Kim, can you tell us about what does it take to put a vision board together?
We do one right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it entails. We may not have the time for it, but yeah, I think we should do something about. Maybe we ought to look at doing a podcast for a vision board because I
Yeah.
think that would probably help a lot of people.
Yes. I think, and I was resonating with all your points as you said them, because it actually brought me back to the clarity and how I've put some systems and some tools in place. Because I think by now you all know I'm an idea person and I love going to 50 towns. And I don't even know how to build something small. So I have learned that I have to put systems in place. And I also have to constantly remind myself about my ethics, my mission, my vision, my values, especially my values. I was recently confronted with something that I think, like, for a week, I was still thinking, am I going to do this or not? And I think I think at some point, if Miss Judith could write a book about me, she'd just go like, "Who is this woman and how did she get into my life?" So it gets life gets you when you're outgoing. You talk to people, so you constantly get people throwing some opportunities to you. But then you really have to be very much aware of, these are my values, these are my principles, this is what I stand for. It doesn't matter how juicy the deal feels or sounds, but I know if deeply I don't believe in something, it never works out. I'll mention it. Please don't record this part. We can edit. I think it's a month or 6 weeks. Somebody comes who is a friend. He's in the city, he's in my country, so I'm hosting. And I'm just supporting him. But as we keep talking, I go like, this is a very good business. I mean, it's a very good project. Am I just gonna let go? But I know, having done so many different businesses, I've always said I'll never be involved in any business that has anything to do with alcohol. And maybe I have some trauma that I don't know, that I've never confronted. So that really troubled me. I think I say, so I like sometimes I have my 7 days rule, my 90 days, that if this idea I wake up every day, it's bothering me, I'm going to sit and research on it. If I can go back to my values, my little meeting with Miss Kim, and we agree this is not okay. There's money, but learn to walk away from some projects. If you feel, it might sound very silly to a lot of people, there's a lot of good still from alcohol, but I still feel like I'm being a part of ruining homes. So if that's how I feel, that's a personal belief, and I need to be comfortable and okay with it. And this has assisted me so much on creating my vision boards that I so much believe in. So my vision board goes, I review it December, just because we all have the hype for January. But I so much believe on my vision board when it's my birthday, because that's literally when my clock clicks. I just go like, oh, that's another 1 year. What did I set that I want to have achieved by the time I turned 50? What did I set that I wanted to achieve 2025? Mid-year? How far am I with my goals? And this goes down to my daily goals, my weekly goals, my monthly goals. And it's literally making sure that I'm making steps every day. Now, this might sound a little bit weird. When I work on my vision boards, I like, now there's a lot of tech AI tools to work on your vision board. I don't believe in those ones. I like it when I craft it. Like, there's a board. When you come and visit me, you'll see it. It's right in my bedroom. It's the first thing I see when I wake up. And it's a box. It's a little, like a shoe box. It's a carton. I don't know how you call it, but it's like a shoe box. And we sit with my kids and we cut. When they're doing theirs, sometimes they want to hide theirs. Because sometimes it can be a little bit like, I don't want these kids to know that I'm dreaming of buying a jet, because they're going to laugh at me. Like, really, mom? So I work on my vision, and from my vision board, it boils down to my health. Will I make sure I go on my pap smear, and this is the date for my pap smear. These are, because I really don't like seeing the doctor. I hate going for pap smear. Sorry. So, but it has, since I ticked it and I wrote that has to be done. It's got to be done. Guess what is so weird about my vision board? And then, of course, my goals for my children. What do I envision them to be doing in the next 6 months, in the next 1 month, in the next 1 year? I hope they don't listen to this podcast, because guess what? Some of the things that I visualized and I really wanted them to be, and I cut out paper, it happened. 2024, only one box was not ticked, but all the others. I've always wanted my kids somehow to get into tech. Guess what? They've all gone into tech. It might feel and sound selfish, because obviously you raise kids and you want them to choose their path, but it's still related related fields that make me get super excited. So I don't sometimes sound like I've lost it in my house when I'm all talking about AI. Now we can have a lovely conversation and they're going like, yes, I went for this conference and this is what they agreed. This is what my boss is saying. This is what my lecturer said. So I so much believe in vision boards, and it's something that I teach my students, from the young ones to the elder ones, and it's something that a lot of us, we can call it anything. Some people don't do like the actual. Mine, it's cutting papers, magazines, and putting that jet there, putting my dream house, my dog, my what, things that I really want to achieve in my life. And it doesn't just have to be material. It can even be getting my relationship to be better with my siblings. It can be anything. Yeah. It's really a good habit to cultivate. So let's hope one day we'll have a podcast on just focusing on vision boards. You're on mute, mommy.
Thank you so much. I love that. I love the fact that there's something that you said that really resonated with me. You said that the values, you check in with your values. What I heard was the values are the rails on the highway to your destination. So it's the guideposts. It's the values are the things that you check in into. Is this in alignment with my values? Am I comfortable with this? Is this something I can live with? Is this something I can be proud of if it goes public or, God forbid? So I love that. That's an excellent takeaway. The other thing that I love about what you said was the fact that you literally build your board. Like I thought, because to be honest with you, I thought, I know she's doing a digital board. I know she's doing an AI board. And you just said, no, I don't like that. I actually cut my stuff out. I think there's something to be said about that. It shows commitment to actually visualizing, putting your vision on something solid in real time. So, yes, I like that. Is there anything else, Dr. Gladys? Is there anything else you'd like to add to this? Tell us. What is some of your methods?
Yeah, I actually do a vision board as well. I actually do it around the beginning of the year, January. So basically, like I agree with Miss Kim about it. It really represents your values. So I put things on there like as far as where I want to be, what do I, and it kind of keeps you on that path, and then it gives you opportunity to look back to see what you did achieve. So mine includes where do I want to grow. Of course, everybody should have technology on there. You should definitely have technology on. I actually cut mine out as well. I don't do everybody should have it. But and then also, stuff related to family, also, I want to travel. I put, destinations I would like to go, where I want to be even financially. I may not, be there that year, but I'm working towards it. Did I get closer to it? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So, so also, what type of service I would like to do me, so yeah, I do that every year, and then I get a chance to look back, and you can even check in during the year. But a lot of times I'll look back at the end of the year to see what I did accomplish, and then you start doing it over again. So yeah, I cut it out. I use magazines, and I cut out pictures and stuff like that as well, and there's a representation of what I want, for my life. Yeah.
That is so interesting to me. Do you know I've never done a vision board? Do you know all my friends do vision boards? I don't know what it is. I
You
don't
have to
know.
do one.
I've never done a vision board, but I do something different. I do it in a different way. Like if I see something that I need to do and I want to do, and by the way, Miss Kim, you love this. Technology is on my list, very high.
That's awesome. It
I
must
just
be.
want to pull my eyebrows out. But technology's on the list. But I've never done a
Awesome.
vision board. But what I do is I start, if I see something that I want to accomplish, I start researching. Like I love doing research. I start researching and I build a plan. I build a strategy, not a vision board, but I actually build a strategy. Okay. I want to end up here. What road do I need to take to get here? What do I need to have in place? who do I need to be, not just in accomplishing this, but about in pursuing this? Do I need new skills? Do I need to who do I need to partner with? Do I, because I love the collaborative model. Who do I need to partner with? Who would be interested in this? So I don't do vision boards. I actually do plan, the nerd. I like to write. So I do entire like idea plans. So yeah, but I don't know what it is about the vision board. Everyone that's close to me do a vision board. I'm the only one who doesn't do one. And I just couldn't understand. I understand it for them. It's different for me. I don't know why. Go ahead.
You know what is so weird about doing a vision board? And I'd like Miss Yodi to tell us about her vision boards. It's sort of, especially when you do it practically hands-on, it makes you sort of emotionally get more connected with what you want to achieve. So I see even like we could be doing just a 60 days or 30 days challenge or project with the
Mhm.
students. I get them to start with visualizing. So get clarity. This is the journey. What do you want to accomplish in 30 days? So can you draw that? You want to make sure you're very tech savvy, you understand digital marketing. It could be very, very basic. So it doesn't have to be your annual program. It can be this is what I want to do in 90 days and
Right.
how do I achieve it? And then somebody like me who I can sometimes I'll just get something that is so exciting and I want to do it. My vision board is what keeps me like, if you've not ticked these boxes, you're not starting to sell alcohol. No, we ain't doing that. We're not launching another project. Because strictly my vision board is this is what I'm accomplishing this year. So in 6 months' time, this should be done. So how I negotiate with Miss Kim is okay, fine. You really want to go to Ghana. It was not part of the plan. But have you ticked the other boxes? What are you trading off? Because suddenly you're so excited about Festac and now you want to go to Ghana. Suddenly AI has become a thing. Now you want to run 1,001 workshops. That was not part of the plan. So what is the trade-off? And it's so important because I mean it can there's so much noise out there. Every day somebody comes with an exciting idea. We want to build a smart city. What do you know about it? Was that part of the plan? Can you then can you pass them over to experts? Or what are you trading off? How is it going to compromise your emotional well-being, mental and financial? Those we always have to check.
I
I'd like to-
absolutely love that. I love the concept of checking in on your plan, on your roadmap. How are you doing? Do some evaluations. Did I stay on point, or were there new developments that I didn't consider that now that's integrated into this plan? And to your point, Miss Kim, I need to go to Ghana. Well, how does Ghana fit in with the long-term plan that I had for this particular time frame? Is it a part of it? Will it help move the agenda forward, or is it something that's going to take me off course? And for me, I like to say it's my self-analysis, it's my value versus cost analysis, right? It's something that I love, but what is the value to what it is I'm trying to accomplish, and what is the cost? What is the associated cost? Because oftentimes we don't a lot of us don't think about that. So for those who are watching this, who are listening to this, you really need to look at your decision making process. Are your decisions based on reality? And are they based on whatever decisions you're making? What is the cost? Did you analyze what the cost is going to be to you? The cost could just be in time, in energy, in whatever it is that you're contributing to that. And is it worth it? Do you have the time? So yeah, I absolutely love that. I do that. Like I said, I don't have the vision board, but I do that because I pull my plan out, and I usually do it like on a monthly basis and look at it and see, okay, so how far along have I gotten? I said to my daughter the other day, I'm a billionaire. And she said, yes, mom, I know. I said, well, how do you know that? She says, because you always have these big ideas. But one of the things I like about you is even if it seems unattainable to other people, you're always working on it and you never stop working on it. And, I fell out laughing. I did because I have a plan that I've been working on for 20 years. That's my $1 billion plan. And it has not manifested yet. But I shouldn't even say that. It's manifesting incrementally. Like the people that I need have been cultivated in here. The some of the knowledge that I need is already falling into place. Some of the relationships that I believe are required are already coming into place. So I said to her a couple of days ago, I said, I said, this is about to jump off. I says, and when it does, people are going to think it's instantaneous. They're not going to know I've been on this for like 20 years. And she just fell out. And you know what she said to me that really made me feel good? She said, Mom, that's one of the things I'm learning from you. She says, I'm usually all over the place. I get excited about an idea. She's my Mayborn. She's the 15th of May. Hint, hint. I get excited about an idea and something, and I just take off with it. And I said, but you have to be steady. You have to be consistent, right? And you have to keep analyzing it. Sometimes you have a plan and it's not, it was a great plan in 1929 or 1998, but it's not such a good plan today. So I love that. I love that. Here's what I'd like to do. Thank you, ladies, for this conversation. I really appreciate it. I know our audience is going to appreciate it. Do we have anyone in the audience that have any questions, anything that we would like to like discuss and engage the audience now? Miss Kim?
We have very good questions. Can I pass the mic to Miss Yodi to read them?
Excellent. Thank you. Let's get it, Miss
You can see
Yoda.
the messages. I put on WhatsApp. Check. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That's that Mayborn.
Yeah, exactly. 1 minute.
That's that Taurus. So while Sister Yoda is getting it together, one of the things too that I'd like to kind of throw in here is there's several things that we're working on. We are excited about. We're very close to completing some of our projects. The book is almost done. Yay. And so if one of us, probably Miss Kim, can drop our email in the chat box so that we are looking, anyone that is interested in the book. Um, Dr. Gladys, can you tell them what the name of our upcoming book is?
Oh well, this is it's actually a group of us. It's an anthology where all of us make a contribution to topics that could lead to a pathway of happiness. So what we're actually doing is sharing our personal journeys of what we have actually overcome to achieve this state of happiness. So, and we're not the only ones that are represented in this actual book. We have others that are part of the Happiness Tribe, Selassie and Miss Grace. They are also contributors to this book. So I am really looking forward to this book actually being like to pre-order. Please, Miss Kim is putting the link in the I guess in the live chat, in the chat, and it's really a nice a book. And as a matter of fact, a lot of the topics that we've been discussing have been related to the actual book itself.
And the name of the book is A Blueprint to Happiness. So, happiness, the pursuit of happiness really is a journey. It's not a goal and an objective, it's a journey. And there's a blueprint. And some of it is scientific, and the book covers that as well. So, there's a scientific component that is actually included in the book that Dr. Gladys wrote. She did an excellent job. I'm so excited about that. There are case studies that she's mentioned that you will be able to pursue in the book. So we thank you again for that. Sister Yodit, are you ready to ask the questions, some of the questions we have in the audience, coming from the audience?
Yes, thank you, Miss Paula. Actually, I only see one question, but maybe I can just read out message from Justice who says these conversations are extremely healing. Thank you. And then yeah, he says hi from Johannesburg. I think Miss Kim had read that previously. And then we have Daniel from Kenya who also says hello. So the question is asking us about the podcast that we had advertised, but we're actually speaking about another subject. And let me take this opportunity to apologize to our followers on LinkedIn. I think there was a mistake. We posted a podcast that we're actually going to be discussing next week and prepared for the podcast that we're discussing today, which is dealing with confusion. So, what we can do, Miss Paula, is next week, we just have to remember that we had this question. It's from somebody called Faria Noor. I hope I did not mispronounce your name. And Faria is asking, in an African context, How does community expectation or cultural pressure contribute to procrastination? Sometimes we delay not because we're lazy, but because we fear judgment or rejection from those around us. How do we break free from this? It's a very interesting question. And I think it gives us, thank you, Fahia, for posting that. It gives us an opportunity to go back and understand the question a little bit better and perhaps to think about it within our own cultural context to see how do we respond. So that's it. There aren't any questions about confusion.
But
Thank you.
I'd like, thank you, Sister Yodit. I'd like to touch on that question because there can be confusion. There can be disconnect between what our expectations or our perceptions are from a cultural perspective and the reality that we find ourselves in. Let me explain. So I am of Malian descent, right? I am Garifuna. The group of Garifuna people are people who came from Mali in the 1300s. So a lot of that cultural framing is still very much a part of my culture, and it's very much African or Afrocentric, if I may, despite the fact that we've lived in Central America now for a couple of hundred years and in the Americas for almost over 700 years. That African context for culture and perception is very, very deeply rooted in me. And so I've had this conversation with Miss Kim, right? And let me take a subject that's really particular and sensitive to people. It's the perception of death. The passing of a loved one is such a pivotal, life altering moment in each of our lives, depending on who the individual is. From my vantage point, from my cultural frame of reference, death is something that is is supposed to be feared, but from our cultural references, and even in our culture, it's different because there are a lot of people that don't want to deal with death, even though the cultural perspective is really quite different. We welcome the concept of someone passing as someone who's already done their work and that now they've gone back to source, whatever that is, and that they have the ability now, after they pass, to to have a direct impact on our lives, those of us who knew them, who were a part of their life. It's a very, for me, it's an edifying perspective. So I'm not afraid of death in that way. I've said this before in one of our previous podcasts that my son, and I touch on this actually in the book, A Blueprint to Happiness. I speak about my son being at death's door, and they coming into the doctors coming in and saying, listen, he has 10 minutes to live, call your family. And me being able to go to my son and say, listen, I know you're tired. I know we had an agreement. I know you're tired. I know we have a contract. I'm breaking the contract. You can break the contract. You can go back home because I'm tired of seeing you suffering. I'm willing to let you go. Right? That is a very different perspective than the perspective of people don't die. And people, we don't entertain death because our culture says that we're not supposed to. And Miss Kim, I know you can speak more to this for the opposite side of this perspective. Go ahead. Because I think this kind of, hold on a minute, Miss Kim. Hold on just a second. I think this kind of frames her question in a different way. Go ahead. Thank you.
This I actually so strongly resonate with what you're talking about, and there's actually a video I think I shared. I'm not sure if you all watched it on this episode that talks about it's not actually procrastination, but it's about urgency, time, the African time. Did you see that clip? It's so deep. So we can sometimes we frame culture to what suits us. You get it? And some of the cultural norms we have, they're not taking us anywhere at all. And sometimes it just takes being brave enough to say, yes, ma'am, that is what you believed in 50 years ago. That's how you were raised, but that is not working right now in my current situation. It can be a very difficult conversation to have. But then again, we go back to soft skills. If we can learn how to communicate effectively, if we can learn how to collaborate, if we can learn our emotional intelligence, the fact that I'm saying we can't do this now, how do I make you understand? How do I phrase the context? I've seen like culturally, I was raised with this notion of Dr. Gladys, this is a bit weird. Get ready to laugh. We are raised like the African culture, maybe a little bit before my generation. You give birth to a lot of children. You can get 3, 4, 5 wives so that they can till the land, right? So you can call it our children right now. If I told my kids to wake up and go till the land, they would sue me. They would actually call it modern day slavery, right? That used to work then because there were farms. There was work to be done. No, we don't have farms. There's no farm work to be done. So that is not applicable. Right now, we're going through a session where, in the African context, getting children, getting married was a rite of passage. I think I would still say it still is. It's not because you want to. It is literally what you do. You grow up, you're 18, you're 20. In some cultures, we get somebody to marry you. In some, they have different patterns of making sure, but you got to get married. It's unheard of. Why aren't you getting married? And you get married, the next thing is you have to get children, right? That bus long left the station. So there are some cultural norms we believed in, things that we practice that right now we can't practice. In my household, having been raised with that thing of children have to do chores, it's still a struggle. Of course, I'm very strict. You got to do chores. But some things like sending kids, it is so weird that these days it's debatable, right? That I can't sit and ask my child, as we didn't have to wait for my mom to tell us. She gets home, the first thing we do is bring her cup of tea. So now it's something that I have to get into the house and start negotiating. Please, can I have a cup of coffee? And if I don't put please, I might have to go and make that coffee for myself. So you see, and maybe understandably so, there's so much pressure for our kids as well with the life they're living. They come from school, there's homework to be done. So as then, school was half day. After school, you're playing, you're having fun. So you're cleaning up the house. What work do you have? Why won't you take care of your mom? You're supposed to cook. There was nothing like it's the nanny, even where there was a house helper. You work, you do work with the nannies. So I think my attempt to answer the question from there, and I know we've had discussions about how we perceive death, the African culture. I actually found it very strange when I saw your acceptance on death. So as it's a whole topic on how we deal with that. But my attempt to answer that question from LinkedIn would be there are some cultural norms that we have to be brave enough to say no to. We have to rise up to the occasion. I'm telling my daughter to go to the next door university. She does not see the opportunities there. So it's a conversation. Let's sit and discuss. Why do you want to go to Europe? Why do you want to go to China? What are the pros and cons? Why do you think that's better? But that thing of like, I'm your mom, I'm the parent, I'm the one who decides. You do what I say you do. It's not working. We can't reason how we were raised. So the same thing, some of those cultural beliefs we had, they don't work. Not all of them. Some of them we've got to be flexible. There are things to date I'll have to sit and discuss with my mom and tell her, no, mom, I don't want to do that. It's not working in my era. It worked in yours. It doesn't work in mine.
Well, you're in trouble.
I am. I'm gonna get.
You're going to be in trouble for this one. But these are conversations that we need to have. It's
Yeah.
critical. It's the same way in the West. There is a concept in the West that you're supposed to wait till you have the relationship, the marriage, and everything to have a child. And it's in your late 20s and it's your 30s. In lots of cultures around the world, women are having children when they're in their teens. They're encouraged to have the children when they're younger, because by the time the children are adults, this is my takeaway from it, because my friend was like that. She was like, I had my first daughter at 15 and I thought, oh my God, how did your mom handle it? She said, no, they were encouraging me to have the children early. She said, and at the time I didn't want to. She said, but I'm glad that I did, because I'm now in my 30s and my children are grown and I still am young enough and healthy enough to enjoy life. That's a drastically different perception from the perception in the West, where women are waiting till they're in their late 30s and early 40s to have children, until they've had all the trappings of, I don't know, whatever it is, that the white picket fence, half a fence, I don't know. And that's when they're having children. The problem, though, is that birth rates are down in the West. And so that's an issue. Well, anyway, because I'm getting off the point, the subject matter, but I'm still going back to the sister's question. And did she say time, Sister Yo? Was her question related to time in terms of cultural frame of references?
No, she was saying sometimes we delay, not because we're lazy, but because we fear judgment or rejection from those around us.
Okay,
How do you
all right.
see this? So I think some of the, that Miss Kim gave around brave enough to refuse to do certain things because it just have a place anymore is important, but that itself is a process. So it's a very difficult one. I still think about it a little bit, but the conversation that you're having is really tempting me. I don't want to start commenting because there are, especially when it comes to women and childbirth and expectations for them to get married and have babies when they're very young. That, unless it's being forced in remote and rural areas, it's actually illegal in many countries now. You have to be of a certain age to get married because of some of the medical conditions that happen as a result of young girls having babies when their hips are not wide enough, not to mention other horrible things that happen to them. So but it's an interesting, I she's asking a very important question, and it brings in a lot of different elements that we can discuss. But I think let's also take it up next week when we discuss procrastination, and maybe she'd be willing to come and join us and tell us what specifically is she thinking about, or what is it that she's faced with that she would like us to help respond to. Thank you.
Think Miss Kim is with the social media component. If we can invite her to come and sit and have this, excuse me, I need to.
Bless you. Bless you, Miss Paula.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. The dust. Yes, it would be a really very enlightening conversation if she can join us next Sunday so we can really sit down and unpack, because I think her conversation, her suggestion, and her framing is loaded, to say the least. So I'm excited about that. Nonetheless, having said all of that, I'd like to thank you, ladies, so much. I'd like to thank my ongoing family, my tribe, for your continued support, for your words of wisdom, for your overstanding. I hope that this conversation has illuminated some of what we were attempting to convey to the audience. Um, and I hope that we've helped to provide some tools for you if you are struggling with clarity, don't know what direction to go, what to do, how to make, what decisions you need to make in terms of the opportunities that are on the table for you, whether they're big, they're small, they're personal, they're professional. It's our prayer that we somehow have contributed to that conversation and that thinking in a positive manner. We're getting ready to close now, so we will start with Dr. Gladys, Sister Yodit, and then Miss Kim can close us out. Thank you all, ladies.
Yes, I want to thank everyone for joining our podcast today. And I would like to say that when it comes to clarity, you have to find what works for you. So that requires self discovery. So once you determine what works for you, then you can implement that, and that could help you resolve whatever. So that's what I would like to leave you with. Thank you.
Sister Yodit, you can go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Paula, for helping us unpack some of the issues in this very interesting conversation. I'd like to thank those who joined us today, and hopefully, we'll have a couple of visitors, guests next week joining us on the conversation where we're discussing procrastination. I think for me, the last thing that I'd like to say is, confusion and lack of clarity is something that happens, it's part of life. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to seek assistance or help from people around you. It's very difficult to try and solve things on your own. So that would be my suggestion. I'm surprised that Miss Kim didn't mention her AI assistant because I know she seeks. And maybe she can mention that. But there really are so many different ways to get answers to questions that you may have and questions that you need to ask in order to resolve what's troubling you and what's preventing you from moving forward. So be brave, but remember to also be very kind to yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Yosin. You have
Yeah, but now she's opened a can of worms and busted my bubble.
You can say it in one sentence.
I thought that's our little secret. I'd actually love to know who else is consulting AI. I've literally built an agent that's my mentor, that's my business partner. Dr. Gladys, are you consulting AI? You're on mute, mommy.
Absolutely.
I'm not alone. I'm sure, Miss Paula, you are.
I am. I actually am. Yes.
Awesome.
Lots of things.
So, Miss Yodit, you better join crossover.
No, but you pose the question differently. Miss Kim's AI agent, I'm sure, works in very different ways from Dr. Gladys and Miss Paula. But I'll leave it I'll leave it at that.
You know, what is so annoying about the AI agent is when you just ask a simple question and then the tool tells you. But then again, you keep on going back and forth. You said you wanted to go to Ghana. Why are you now? This is where things are not working. You just go like, dude, what's going on here? Can you stop exposing me? But it's an amazing tool to use. I hope soon we do a podcast on that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, our listeners. We are streaming on 17 platforms, all thanks to OneStream Live, which is truly, literally like having your own little TV channel. And we're still working on adding more platforms. Hopefully by Sunday, we'll be on 30 or 40. So please know we are open to broad partnerships. We have people now requesting us to promote their products. So we are ready to have those conversations. We have more than 100,000 truly, with followers within all our platforms, all our networks, from our personal networks to our organization company networks to people we interact with. So we can help you promote a product, and we're keen to have a conversation on how we can just do your brand mentioning on this platform. We're building this not just for ourselves, but to make sure that we can add value to others. And that's why the Happiness Tribe was created. So please know we're still open to supporting you on your journey. Somebody somewhere looking for a job, looking for an opportunity, wanting to meet our key strategist, Miss Paula. We have Miss Yodit. She's going to shout because I was about to say Dr. Yodit. Okay, Miss Yodit, who is a champion in her own space. We talk about anything sustainability, um, community social responsibilities. She focuses on that and much more, climate action, stuff like that. We have Dr. Grace, who also, sorry, Dr. Gladys, who also is a champion in STEM space. And actually, that's how we met, our passion for STEM. But she's much more than that. She's a business person with very awesome products that she distributes across the continent. She actually sent them all the way from across the globe to us. Yes, we wear them. More coming about that. We'll run a podcast and tell you more about how comfortable they are. Yeah. So please, let's collaborate, let's network, let's build a better life for us all. We're looking forward to seeing you. This podcast runs every Sunday at 5 p.m. South African time. Obviously, different time zones. Depends on where you are joining us from. But you can see Miss Paula is in Belize and tech makes her join us. Dr. Gladys is in the US. I think so far just I and Miss Judith in Botswana. But we have a community of people from across the globe, which is quite exciting. So thank you, thank you. Enjoy the rest of the week and see you on Sunday. It's goodbye from me.
Thank you. Good night.
Now, bye bye.
Thank you. Have a blessed day, week.